Thomas Gill, I received your message yesterday. I'm Hogan. The result not matching. Okay, we will talk about that later. Let's finish this. All right, so again, I'll repeat a little bit of it. So we talked about the important information. Monthly fee of $250. So much noise, this class, like somebody said earlier, this is boring. You want it to be bad, I'll make it bad. I'll make it real bad. We won't talk. Backpacks will be up in the corner of the room, and I'll just lecture and you'll fail quizzes. I'm getting sick of this class. And you know who I'm talking to in this class. It's only about 2 or 3 people. Knock it off. So, again, that takes up time. Every time I have to do that, and it's constant in this class. We have a monthly fee of $2.50. 25 cents per song. This word is extremely important in word problems. Keep laughing. Extremely important in word problems. I just need to write myself a reminder. So extremely important in word problems. The reason it's important is because it's what tells you that that's gonna, don't worry about it. It may not be because of right now, but it's something I need to do again, so. We can talk about it later if you want to. I'll give you plenty of examples from today. From today. It may not have been 5 minutes ago, but from today. That I just didn't make a big deal out of. So. It tells you what you're going to be multiplying in the equation. Because remember, there's always going to be a piece that's basically times x. X times something in the equation. That word will pretty much tell you immediately what that is. What's in front of that word? In blue, what's in front of the word? Ricardo. In front of the word per, what's in front of it? Like literally right in front of it. What in front of? 0.25. 0.25. That tells you what's going to go with the x, multiplied times the x. Probably can't say 100% of the time, but it's one of those 99% of the time things. If they're together in the word problem, they're going to be together in the equation. Because this is saying per song, we're paying 25 cents. Well, to get the total amount from that, we need to multiply it times how many songs. I'm going to come back to that because I want to do it all in words first. If you wrote that down, that's fine. You can still write this right below it. So in words, let's create this problem. She's going out, again, think about what's going on. She's spending money during the month on songs. We know a few pieces of what her money is made up of. So I've told you this when it's about money. I'm just going to say it now because, again, we've already wasted some time in this class. There's going to be a total. When you're dealing with money, there's going to be some kind of a grand total of money. That's just the way word problems work. There'd be no need to talk about money if there wasn't some kind of a grand total. It won't always be at the end, but that's the first place I'd try to put it. If it truly doesn't make sense, then maybe you can't put it here. But again, I think it's pretty safe bet, especially when I make up the quizzes of money. Oh boy. Grand total of the money spent in August. It's 1 month. That's also important. Only 1 month. And it tells you that in the problem. It says, in August, she spent $7. So, the money she spends in August is going to be made up of 2 things. Who am I going to call on? Lazaria. she's spending this money in August, and well, I'm not even gonna say the next part. What is that made up of? The money she spends on this Spotify account in just August. What's it made up of? 2 pieces. You can just tell me one of them. You don't tell me both of them. So she's spending money on Spotify in August, right? It's made up of 2 things. Give me one of those 2 pieces. Yeah, she's downloading some songs, right? So part of that is going to be the money spent. And I'm going to write, again, I hate writing total in multiple places, which is kind of why I wrote grand total over there. But the total money spent on song downloads. So that's part of it. She's going to download some songs, and she's going to spend money on the songs she downloads. Leaja, what's the other piece that she spends in August? Yeah, she's going to spend $7, right? I'm sorry, not $7, $2.50. But I'm going to write it in words first. She's also going to pay a monthly fee for August. It has nothing to do with how many songs she downloads. If she downloads 5 songs, is she going to pay $2.50 for the monthly fee? Is she still going to pay the same monthly fee? Yeah. Yeah, monthly fee is going to be $2.50. If she downloads 100 songs, is her monthly fee going to be any different? No, that's what we call a one-time fee. And this is the way most word problems will be set up for a long time that we deal with. There's going to be one total number that is based on volume, like how many of whatever they do. In the movie example, what was the how many part of it? How many whats? Like they spent money on 2 things. One of them was based on how many they bought, which was what? Who can I call on? Kaylee. What was the how many part in the movie example? We need to know how many whats that they got, or how many people. There you go. You're going to the movie. Going to the movies. What's part of the cost what you need to do to get in the movies? Yeah. So part of the cost is how many tickets do you need times how much was one ticket. That's based on how many. So part of the cost is based on how many. Every time there's some piece of it that's based on how many. This piece is not based on how many. Does not matter how many at all. So there's always going to be a part that doesn't matter how many. Well, this one doesn't matter in this case, the monthly fee. So that's the problem. I mean, you guys should come up with that. I think you get really caught up in the math sometimes, but just think about what's going on. When she downloads songs and she pays some amount, there's going to be a piece that's based on the songs she downloads, and there's going to be a piece that's just based on this monthly fee that they give us. If you can come up with that, first of all, you'll get a lot of credit without doing anything else after that. That's more than 50% credit on the problem. I might even give you three quarter with like 75%, which is a C on that problem. And you haven't even done math yet. We've done no math. We've had to think about it and try to figure it out. We have not done any math at all yet. There's no variables, there's no numbers. We simply took the question and labeled X, and then we just tried to figure out what was going on in the problem. And it's similar to the movie tickets and the popcorn, if you remember that one. We're going to do another one later today that's similar to this one. Now I need to figure out what pieces of this I can fill in. Aubrey, give me a piece that I can fill in. I'll scroll back up. So we've got the words, and then there's the word problem. What piece can we pretty easily fill into this part down here? I mean, all you got to do is look at the numbers first. The numbers are typically going to be the area you're going to pull stuff from, since we need to now put numbers and variables in. Sure you do. What's the 7 going to represent? Well, that's the question. That's not next to the 7. Read the part before the 7. Yeah. We want to know how much she spent in August, right? Well, it says in August, she spent $7. So it tells us right there. We don't have to do any math. We don't have to figure out where that came from. It just tells us. In August, she spent $7. Samantha. I can't spell apparently, but where do we get one of the other 2 pieces from? I'll scroll back up. So we filled 1 piece in. We have 2 pieces left. You can give me either one of those or start us off on either one of those. Or, like I said, one of them is just given to us. You don't have to figure it out. I couldn't hear you. Yeah, the monthly fee, right? They just gave us that. So we actually wrote monthly fee, but now we have monthly fee. So yeah, they just gave us what the monthly fee was. So we just write that in. You've gotten probably half the equation. Is probably, I wouldn't say that's 2/3 of it, but that's half the equation. You're at about a B or probably a B. I wouldn't give you an A for this on this one problem. And you've not really even done math yet. This stuff's not super, super hard if you follow this process. This is the hardest part, coming up with what it means in Word, but this is not a hard one to do that on. And you'll probably have 3 or 4 problems like that are similar to this, where it's just there are 2 pieces to the overall grand total at the end. So the only other piece we need to figure out is what is the total money spent on the song download. And that's a little trickier, but not too bad. And I'll show you how it's all should be up. So put that one away, please, because I've already seen you look 2 or 3 times. So go ahead and put it in your purse or your backpack. So I'll prove to you that this is not that bad, because if we won't even worry about this anymore, and I'll guarantee you, without thinking about this, you guys will get it right. I think. We'll see. So if you are going to I'm going to make the math easier. If you're going to download songs, do you have a question? If you're going to download songs, and I want to know, again, I want to know what's the total you spend on song downloads. So again, ignore the problem. That's why I'm standing in front of you. I want to know what's the total you spend on song downloads. I'm going to make the math even easier. Kyle, you've even been absent for a while. This is how easy it is, though. I hope. It's not easy, then I apologize. Songs are $1 each, right? You downloaded 15 songs. How much did you spend total? $15, right? That's it. That's how easy it is. Now you just got to figure out, well, how did I get that number? What did you do with the $1 and the 15? To get 15. You just said 15 times 1, right? Is that what you're saying? That's all you're doing here. You're just saying, okay, well, in order to get the total I spent on songs, ignore the numbers in the problem. Ignore variables. Just say, how would I get that in real life? And you can change the numbers if it makes it easier for you, like I just did. I multiply how much one song was times how many songs. Then go back to the problem and say, literally, if you need to break it out in words again. How many songs times how much per song? And I've already gone over that a lot of times this is the formula anyway behind like a total, a smaller total. How many times how much? How many times how much? That'll happen over and over again. So how much per song? So write it in words again if you need to. Give yourself an example of an actual real life situation where you're downloading songs. And you say, okay, well, if a song is $1 and I download 10, it's 10 times 1. If songs are $1 and it's 25 songs, it's 25 times 1. Again, how many songs times how much per song? Now let's go in and fill those words in. I can even scroll down and we'll just do it below. So now we still have these. I didn't do it this way in other classes, but it's probably the best way to do it. I wish I would have done it in the other classes. I just need to figure out how many songs and how much per song. Which one of those do we know? Does anybody remember? You can't see the problem. Yeah, how much was it per song? It's actually 25. But right idea. So it was 25 cents per song. So we know one of those, and we're going to multiply that times what? Times how many songs. That's the part you have to understand how to add in, or how to use. One of these is going to be a variable, right? How many was what we labeled x. We said x equals how many songs. If one of those wasn't a variable, we wouldn't even need the whole equation because we just have a whole bunch of numbers and we'd just be solving something else. So you got to have a variable in an equation, or else you wouldn't need an equation. That's it. You just went through, you created an equation, you didn't really even do that much math. This was about the hardest thing you had to do, was figure out where does the math come from to get this, and it comes from this times that. So again, this will be recorded. If you didn't take all that down in notes, if you truly care about looking at it later, it'll be on YouTube. I'll get it up there. I'll get it up there today, I think. I should have time after class. Now you would just solve this out. Some of you did that. Subtract 2. It's just a two-step equation. I think I told you that normally when you create these, the solving of them is not very hard. Pretty simple, actually. It's two-step equations almost every time. 450, 0.25x, divide by 0.25, divide by 0.25, and you get x equals 18. So if you solve it out, you get x equals 18. Cortez, you ready to answer a question? I just solved it out and I got x equals 18. What's that mean? What does that do for me? What's 18 mean to me for this problem? Think about it. What were we trying to figure out? What was the very first thing you did in this problem? Or the very first thing we did?
Figure out how many songs.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We said we want to answer the question that they're asking us, which is how many songs, and we're going to make x equal to that question. So when we solve out, we get a number for x. That number is going to be how many songs, because that's what x equals. We set x equal to that. That was the whole point, was to solve for the unknown. So we said x is going to be the number of songs she downloads. So when we solve it, that will be the number of songs she downloads. That's the whole reason for making x equal to the question, is because you want to solve for that number. So x18 stands for the number of songs she downloads. That is a very, very similar question to what you will probably see on a quiz, on the quiz in 2 days. You're having it on Wednesday, the second half of class. It won't be as long as I was originally going to make it. I was going to give it to you on Friday, and it was going to be a longer quiz. But if I do that, then the guys I see tomorrow will only have a day, whereas you guys would have 2 days. So we're going to do both quizzes this week, Wednesday and then Thursday. Any questions on that? Like I said, I like that example a lot. It's very similar to the popcorn and the movie tickets. It's also similar to another one we'll do in a second. Well, not in a second. We got a different problem to do first. If you have questions, don't be shy, because you're going to be seeing it again in 2 days. All right. All right, so we'll go to the next type problem then. I meant to do it there, I guess. This one's a little tougher. Oh, so I told you about this. I kind of did this as we went through. This is a pretty good formula. When you have a problem dealing with money, and it's pretty easy to tell it's dealing with money because there's dollar signs in it. You have a problem with money, it's going to very often follow this same exact model that you see right there. Same one you just used. It was literally the total cost which was the cost in August in that problem, is equal to the one-time fee, which was the monthly fee in that problem, plus the one that changes based on how many, which was how many songs. And that, if you want to break down the total spent on songs, it was how much per one song times how many songs. So they will very often follow that same exact model on the quiz. Unless it's a lot more complex, which is what we're about to do right now. All right, so here's the complex. We'll spend a little time on this one. There. All right, so read that real quick. I'll give you a minute to read that. Start thinking about what information is important. I'm not going to give you a lot of, I'm not going to try to trick you and give you a bunch of information that's not going to be used. They will do that on the state and the district stuff. If I give it to you, you're going to use it. So don't worry about that on Wednesday. Question, or are you just stretching? Yeah. I'm just using the one pass again, so just make sure you bring it back for the next question, please. Oh, I'm sorry. Let her go first. She asked me earlier, and I made her stay through the hours. That's my fault for Benjamin. Okay. She asked me before the bell worked even. So again, what is this about overall? Well, what's it about? What did I just say? What was I just talking about? If the problem is about this, it's going to follow a similar model. Money. It's about money. As soon as you see it's about money, you should be thinking, all right, if it's about money, there might be one total amount of money. That total amount might be made up of two different pieces. One of those pieces might just be kind of a set number, and then one of those pieces might be based on kind of a how many question, which you'll notice in the question, we have a how many in the question. So that kind of fits that model. So I'll go ahead and just kind of do the outlining. You should be able to pick out some of the important stuff. That's kind of important right there because that's telling us that we don't know how many bags of chips, which if we look at the question, that's what the question is, how many bags of chips. There's a number 3. There's a number, there's a number, there's a number. What else is important? 3 times as much. So sandwiches, each sandwich costs 3 times as much as a bag of chips. We'll get back to that. So we bought 5 sandwiches for $6 each. Spent a total. So again, there's an important word right there. So that's what I would outline. What do we do first? Who am I going to call on? Alondra. What do we do first? Now that we've outlined the important information, first step. What's that?
Write it down.
No, but past that. What's the first step when we're actually starting to do the work? There you go. That's what I wanted you to say. Perfect. First thing you're going to do. Oh, man. Don't know why it does that. There. So the first thing we do is we define X. Again, we define it because that helps you do the rest of it, but it also gets you some points on the question without having to do any math at all. X equals exactly what the question is. How many bags of chips? I mean, you could write did he buy. I'm not going to write that. You don't have to necessarily write the whole question like, did he buy? That's not necessary, but how many bags of chips? You already gotten some points on this question. Now, let's try to think about what's going on in words. It follows the whole money example, so when we're dealing with money, what did I say we're going to kind of have typically? What pieces? Wonderson, what are the pieces that we're gonna, you can give me all of them, you can give me one of them, you know, all of them, that's fine. Well, without doing the numbers and variables yet, just in words, we're gonna create it.
That cost 3 times what that.
Well, that's getting a little too deep. I just want like I just showed you the example. There's gonna be something and then 2 pieces added together, I'll say equals the 3rd piece. So what are those in words? Can you tell me in words what those are? I can't be too much more. So he spends money on what? So he spends money on sandwiches, right?
Yeah.
So money, I'm going to use just a $sign. Money spent on sandwiches, right? Again, try to just think about what's going on. Don't get so caught up in all the words and stuff. Like imagine, literally imagine what's going on. A lot of times I'll make people draw pictures. This is one where you're imagining pictures. I'm not going to make you draw it out, although that can help. The board doesn't work well when I do that. So money spent on sandwiches. What are we going to do with that? Don't know if you said that part or not. Christine, I'll come back to you. So Wanderson said part of the problem is going to be the money that he spends on sandwiches, money he spends on chips. What are we going to do with it?
$30.
Well, we're going to get to numbers in a second. Right now, we're just doing it in words, but thank you. In words, what are we going to do with the money spent on sandwiches and the money spent on chips? Yeah, we're going to add them, right? Because the total money that he spends is going to be based on the money spent on sandwiches and the money spent on chips. And then that's going to be the total that he spends. I guess you could say on everything, since we're writing kind of total twice. So again, in real life, if you were just imagining this scenario, you're walking into a store, a restaurant, or whatever, Subway, whatever it is, you're going to buy some sandwiches, you're going to buy some chips, and you're going to add that together, and that's going to be the total amount you spend. That's all the concept is. Like, that's all you got to do to get, you'd be at a C on this problem just by doing that. You really haven't done math. I get that it's not always easy to imagine what's going on, though. But try to ignore the variables and the numbers for a second. Just really try to think about what's going on. I know sometimes it gets hard to do that, especially if you get a little frustrated.
Teach. I think I know what X is. Can I tell you?
We'll come back to the solution in a second. But I do want you to answer. So one of these you gave me the answer for a second ago. What did you say when you said 30?
30.
What does that represent?
The number, the how much money he spent on sandwiches.
Yeah, it tells us here. He bought 5 sandwiches for $6 each.
Yeah.
So that's $30. We know how much he spent on sandwiches. Spent $30. Oh, I got an echo. Why don't you go ahead and mute your microphone, guys, because I think that's causing an echo. Please. If you want to say something, you can unmute it and speak, but then just mute it again because it causes an echo. So we know how much was spent on sandwiches. What else do we know? Just call it a lot of Manny. What else do we know in the problem? What else do we know in the problem? We know he spent $30 on sandwiches because it tells us right there. What else do we know? Right below. Yes, sir. What do you know? You started to say it. What else do you know? We're trying to fill in these things. We want to know how much he spent on sandwiches, how much he spent on chips, and what's the total he spent.
Oh,
So what do we already know out of those?
he spent 30.
Well, we got that. You're right.
I
We
know,
got that. But
I
what's the
know.
other part? We know
No,
already.
he spent 12.
Well, we do know that. Actually, that's a great point. And I didn't do that in any other class, so let me come back to that. But what's the other part they're just giving us? How'd you get the 12? How'd you know he spent 12 on chips? That's the part we know. That's what I wanted you to say. We know over here. Whoa, I didn't mean to write that. Yeah, I did. We know he spent $42 on chips, right? I'm sorry, on total. So I didn't do this in another class, but that's a fantastic point that you made. We actually already know what this number is right here. We know how much he spent on chips already. Because if he spent 30 on sandwiches and he spent 42 total, he spent 12 on chips. Now that's not really the way we normally solve this out, but we could have done that. We could have said, all right, well, I know that the amount spent on chips was 12, and then we could have backed into the rest of it. Let's set up the equation though the correct way.
Each bag of chips costs $2.
We know that each bag of chips. How do you know that? Excuse me.
Because it said at the top that each sandwich costs 3 times as many as a bag of chips. And each sandwich is $6.
So what the person online, who is that online again?
Alexia.
That's Alexia. Perfect, Alexia. So we know that one bag of chips, I'm sorry, one sandwich costs 3 times as much as a bag of chips. So if we know a sandwich is $6, somebody's out.
Are we?
Oh yeah, then please go use. Oh wait, no, but Benjamin was up first.
Keep it going for like 15, 20
Um,
minutes.
so just go, and if you're out there and they stop you because you don't have a pass, say somebody's out with our pass and you're looking for them. I mean, you still go.
I've got one.
What's that?
I've got that one.
Yeah. So I may, if he can't, doesn't, or. Oh. Just grab your pass. All right. So we know that a sandwich costs 3 times. They didn't tell us how much a sandwich was. Like in most of the problems, they just come out and said one sandwich is this much, or one of what. Like remember, the 2 components you need is how many, how much per one. Well, they didn't just give us how much per one in this. Like in the last problem, they said 25 cents per song. They didn't just tell us how much per sandwich in this. So we need to go ahead and figure out how much is one sandwich. I'm sorry, one bag of chips. Well, it tells us that a bag of chips or a sandwich is 3 times as much as a bag of chips. And we know a sandwich is $6. So using that, we can say, okay, well, 6 divided by 3 means that a bag of chips is $2. So that's how Alexia got the $2. Is that, boy, that, I hate skipping over stuff because I feel like that's not going to be clear for everybody. So visually, let's do it visually. I'm going to use a whole new page. This is where I will draw a picture. So I know one sandwich. This is a foot-long sub with lettuce and all this kind of stuff on it. That's a sandwich. That's $6. All right. I know this is 3 times as much as one bag of chips. That's a bag of chips. If that's 3 times as much, then that means I can buy 3 bags of chips, basically is what that means. So I need to figure out, and that, so this would also equal $6. 3 of those would equal $6. So that's why I'm dividing it by 3. Because if 3 of them is $6, then I need to divide it by 3, which gives me 2, which is the cost of 1 bag of chips. So hopefully that makes sense, because you will have to figure that out on one of the problems on the quiz. You have to do something similar to that. If you don't get that part, you're still going to be fine on the quiz if that's the only thing you don't know how to do. Yeah. It's down at the bottom, hopefully. So don't get too hung up on that part of it on the quiz. Just do the part where you create it in words, fill in what you know, and then from there you can solve it out. 1, 2, 3. So the way we now do this is we know how much one bag of chips is $2. We need to say, well, $2 times how many bags of chips is going to be our, well, actually, I shouldn't tell you that. So how do we get the total spent on chips? Valencia, how do we get the total spent on chips? I know you guys are glazing over on this problem. Let me, well, I want to make sure we understand. So don't tune out. Back up here. So again, think about it in real life. You go into the store, all right? And we've already told you, maybe you can't figure this part out, but I'm just going to give it to you. If a bag of chips is $2, and you buy 5 bags of chips, so this is still you, Valencia, if you're not sure. How much did you spend? A bag of chips is $2. You buy 5 bags of chips. How much did you spend? 10, right? What'd you do? You multiplied how much per one bag times how many bags. You do the same thing. How much is one bag, we said? Lucas. How much is one bag of chips we just came up with? Yep. A lot of you guys are tuning out on this one. This is going to be on the quiz. Yeah, say it again.
$2.
We just came up with $2. So $2 is part of this. It's how much per one times how many. What is the how many part?
Wait,
That?
repeat that one time.
So we need to know, Valencia just told us the way we get this number, the total dollars, I need to write total, I guess, again. I hate writing it over and over again. The total we spend on chips is made up of 2 things. How much is one bag, which we got, and then times how many bags. So we need to say 2 times how many bags?
5.
How do we, well, that was my example. We're back to this problem now. How many bags of chips in this example? What do we use there?
Wait, isn't it 2? Wait, no.
Well, 2 is the price per one bag.
Wait, we doing how many bags?
So where do we get the how many bags part from? What do we not have in the equation yet? That always has to be an equation. There's something that's going to be an equation that we don't have yet. Do you agree with that or disagree with that?
I agree.
You agree? You know what she said?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because remember, we don't have a variable. Like, the shortcut version is we don't have a variable, right? There's no variable yet in this. We got to have a variable for an equation. And if you look at what the variable stands for, it is how many bags of chips. So we need to put an X in there because we need how much per one bag of chip times how many chips. So now if you solve that out, you get the answer to how many bags of chips. It would also be, earlier, Manny told us that she spent $12 on chips, which was correct. So you could also just say, well, I could take 12 and divide it by 2 if that's how much one bag of chips is, and that would also give you the answer, but it comes out to be 6 is the answer. So, and I think some of you are jumping forward and you're doing the answer, but remember, you got to be able to set the problem up. So I would subtract 30, that gets rid of that. That gives me 12, which is the number Manny gave us. He said, I know she spent 12 on that. And then the last step was divide by 2. So the number of bags of chips.
Can you please
Put it back. All right, so that is going to be the most complex type of problem you will see on the quiz. All right, and there will be one that's a little more complex on there. They're not all going to be as easy as some of the ones we've done, but most of them won't be too bad. Oh, so I didn't go over it. So this page right here, by the way, it's the one that it's a mix of all the bell work and classwork problems we did, or actually not bell work, just classwork. You'll notice that we've done a lot of these. You will have an integer, a consecutive integer problem, or something related to that. Oh, we need to go over that. Crap, I forgot to do that in 5th grade. Let me make a note of that. Yeah, it's cold in this hall. So we talked about consecutive integers, right? And we said that if you have a consecutive integer problem, your first number is x. Your next number, and an integer is just a number that's nice and round and even. Well, not even, I should say, nice and round. X, your next number is x plus 1. Your next number is x plus 2. That gives us 10, 11, 12, or 2, 3, 4, or 21, 22, 23. The way you get to the next number is you just add 1 to that number. And then the way you get to the third number is you add 2. It's not going to be that easy on the quiz. But I'm going to tell you what to do after. It's not much harder. If I say, I want you to give me consecutive even numbers or even integers. Well, if I followed this model, and let's say the first number is 8, and then I added 1, I got 9, and then I added 1 more, I get 10. Are those consecutive even numbers? Are those even numbers? Not all of them. 2 of them are, but that's not an even number. So I can't use that model if I'm doing consecutive even or consecutive odd. It works for both of them. These are consecutive even numbers. These are consecutive even numbers. What am I doing to get from the first number to the second number? I'm adding 2, not 1. That's all you got to remember. That's the only difference. So instead of saying x plus 1 and then x plus 2, you would just say, okay, well, if it says consecutive even or consecutive odd, I need to add 2 to the first number, and then 4 to the first number to get to the third one. And it works for odd numbers too. Like I'll give you an example. I'll change the color of the pen. So if it's 9, 11, 13, or 1, 3, 5, it still works for those numbers. You're just adding 2. So it doesn't matter whether it says odd or even numbers. It'll still work if you use this pattern. So that's, I'm telling you right now, that's going to be a question that's going to go in the quiz. Consecutive even or consecutive odd numbers, and then it'll say the sum of them is whatever the sum adds up to. Any questions on that? That's on your sheet. There's 2 problems. These 2 that I created. One we did, so you should have it in your notes, and then one we didn't do. It's about even numbers, I believe. So you need to know how to do those for the quiz. Oh, that's the same one. Oh, circle number 8 and 9 on this. We've already done all the ones really up through 8 and 9. We've already done those. Well, it's up there. I'll let you know. It's the one with the little black dots on it. Yeah, you didn't get it, but it's funny on there. So circle, I mean, just you can circle just a number. You don't have to circle the whole problem. But 8 and 9, we haven't gone over, but I do like those. That might be something that I add on there. It would probably just be a bonus question since we've done really, I mean, we've done something like it because they all follow a similar pattern. I doubt I would make that one of the main problems since we haven't done anything super close to it. I'll read them again and see how close they are to other stuff we've done. So right now, look at the packet that has the staple in it. There's only one of the handouts had a staple in it. The others were just one-pagers. I want you to look at number 1 and try to do number 1. Try to do all of the different pieces. Tell me what x is, like what would x would equal what, define it in words. Try to set it up in words, like just using words, no numbers, no variables. And then if you can try to create the equation from the words. So who was after Cortez?
Me. I'm after Cortez first.
Yeah.
Don't take forever. I swear to God.
Done? That's a lot of kids on a bus. So I am going to be walking around, so if you're not working, you need to put some effort into this one. This is, again, a very good example. Yeah, I don't even know where we're going to be at that. So here, and then somebody I think was after you. Right? No?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I was thinking there was somebody after me. So this is a really good example of something that could be on the quiz. It follows a very similar model to some other problems that we've done. I'll give you another minute to work on it, and then we'll start doing it. Yeah, you just got back in. So number 1 in the packet that's stapled. Yeah, I believe that's what it says. This is about students and buses. Done? Don't worry about using a calculator, because again, the math's not super important. I want you to be able to set up the equation, mainly. And to set up the equation, you don't have to do any math on this one. Sometimes you have to do a little math, not a little. I'll give you a few more seconds to kind of try to figure out. Oh, I'm going to walk around on this one. Good. So that you would just have to solve out. You said you did solve it out? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, if you want to solve it out, you can solve it out. Just because you saw me walking around the football there. This is not about solving. You want to solve. You gotta learn to set the equation. Test. And I know you can. It's not a matter of you not being able to. You've got to remember that's what this test is about, is setting up the equation. So I'm going to come back to you. I want to see the equation when I come back. And if you want to solve it out first, that's fine. I'm fine with that. But you've got to make sure you're also doing the equations. Because again, that's what this whole stand that we're on is about.
I don't know if this is right.
Well, no, this is, I'm giving you a grade for this one. Come back to that. I'll come back to you. So what you're saying, so did you tell me what x equals?
No, right.
And so do that, and I'll come back to you. All right, so that's correct. So that's the first piece. So now the next piece is you could try to write it out in words. If you don't have to write it out in words if you feel comfortable creating it. If that part is tougher for you than just setting it up, then you can just set it up. But I'm just saying, if you're struggling and you don't know how to do the equation part, then go ahead and try to set it up in.
I guarantee you I did it. Like there's no Facebook.
So define what x is. Remember, your first step is defining what x is. Good. So again, so you're telling me here, if this is the amount of students in each bus, you're saying there's X number in each bus times 331 total. Is what you're saying. I'm not sure that makes sense. What normally goes at the end of an equation? What goes at the end of an equation? Say louder. There's a grand total that will often go at the end. A lot of you are putting the grand total in the middle, or in the equation part. So don't do that. All right, so you got, well, it's how many students in each bus. Make sure you're specific with if you're going to use the question. Okay, so how many in each bus? So this is about the number of students. So we wouldn't want to just know the number of buses, because that's not about students. Somehow we need to take this total number of students and break it up into smaller number of students. I'm going to go over it. So you're kind of getting these two would actually go together. Yeah, so, okay, so you're doing part of it, but the math wouldn't be plus, remember. And remember when you went into the store and you bought chips, and you said, how much is a bag of chips and how many bags of chips? You didn't add them together, right? You multiplied them. You said 5 times 2. Well, you've got the same thing basically here. How many in one bus times how many buses. So you multiply them together. And then that's, and this is the right number next, but we're not subtracting this from how many went in buses. Because this is how many went in buses, this is how many went in cars, and then that's going to be the total. You're really close, so keep thinking about it. I'll try to show you in a second what we're doing. I am going to draw a picture. You're not as confused as you think. You have all the right numbers in all the right places. You only have one little thing. Well, the map is on. Oh, are you looking here? So boy, a lot of people are doing that one step. That's fun. Nobody did it in any other class. All of a sudden, it's happened in this class a couple of times. So that's pretty good. What would be in between those two terms? What would you be doing with those two parts? Good. Struggle on the last piece of it. It's close. Not here. Cortez is out. He is. Who's next? Go find him. I'm walking around. Write down something that you think, all right, well, that's pretty good. So again, this would be like your big total. That's going to be what goes, not this piece. Remember, I always write grand total at the end of what, like, remember again? Zarya. Can't do that. It's freaking cloudy unless you don't care much hearing. Check at the guys I text you, right? Yeah. Getting closer, so just, I gotta go ahead and move forward. I'll show you what you need to clean up on that. Get the equation. Different way. So I'm gonna give you pretty, I can't give you 100 for that, but I'll give you pretty good credit. Kind of on the right track. Intuitively, but you need to know how to truly set it up. So it's not the first time we've gone over this. You've got to pay attention to the equation part. You're relying on just your ability to solve them, which is great that you have that. But some of the questions that you're going to see on the test is not going to be about solving. Getting closer to this. Remember, this is the total. The big total we're only going to learn. There you go. I think you had already had that, which is enough. I think, oh yeah, you just haven't solved it out, right? Yeah, this, I was checking to see that you set it up correctly, mainly, and you did. Probably, yes. There you go, perfect, good. All right, so this is another problem that I love. We got to get you, so you're doing a pretty good job with the data. We got to get you to the next step, which is actually setting up an equation. So, all right, so let's talk about this one, and then we're done. You'll have the rest of the class after that. So you'll probably have 10 minutes at least, if not any more. So, did you see somebody out there looking for you?
Huh?
Did you see anybody out there looking for you?
No, I seen Leah. She ran in the back
She's
of my
been
face.
gone for a while. So I let her go.
I was almost like, at least 8.
All right, so anyway. All right, so again, I love this example. What's that mean? When I love something, though, what's it mean to you?
That we hate it.
You better know it, because there's a pretty good chance you're going to see it on a quiz. And you probably do hate it, but that, there's a saying that is neither here nor there, which means that doesn't matter. You're still going to see it on the quiz.
Yeah.
All right, so here's why I love it. It's the same exact model as the money problems that I've been telling you I love. It's just not about money. It follows the same exact setup. And we'll go through that and I'll show it to you. So I'm going to just kind of show you what information. You're not going to have to pull anything out on a quiz. Oh, good timing. Good timing.
We were going for a while.
So you're not going to have to pull anything out on a quiz because it'll be right in front of you. No phone, please. Although you did get those all right, I will give you that. So, I can't see. All right, so here's some of the stuff that you should, even though you don't have to actually pull it out of the problem, you need to be aware of what it means. What does the 331 mean? Or what's it like? What's important about it? All of that stuff. Yes, ma'am.
Me?
Yep.
Students that want to graduate.
So related to what we've been doing, what would we use to kind of describe that in an equation? Like, it's what part of the equation?
Fantastic.
Say it again?
Student.
But in an equation, I've been using one term, or one word,
People.
over and over again.
People.
Money.
The people would,
Grand total.
what about the people?
No.
Say it again. We just said it. That's the grand total. Like, that's a big total.
Oh, snickerdoodle.
That's what some people call my dog, Snickerdoodle. My dog's name is Snickers, and I guess it's a natural thing to say that, apparently.
What would you do without? What would you do without?
You know, I think he is actually getting a little better. And that's the first time I've
Yeah,
thought
what would
that
you do without
was this
Snickers?
weekend. So that is the grand total, the big total. That's what grand means of students. And then we could write going on the field trip, I guess. Going on the field trip. All right, so there's a grand total. What is the number 7 going to mean? What's that mean? You are good.
Seven grand
Although,
total.
thank you for the.
Wait, wait. Is we doing
What does the 7 mean? We're doing number 1. Yeah, you might have been out. We're doing number 1.
No,
What is
7.
it?
No,
Benjamin.
I got it.
So that's the number of students going in a car, right? Or going in cars. We don't know how many cars, but does it matter? Not really. That's just how many are going to go in cars. So what's the 6 mean? Manny, what's that? That's how many buses, right? Again, that's the key. How many is the key on that? Give me a little more room. All right, so that's what we know. Well, now let's think about, again, if you already know what to do from there, that's great. I'm going to kind of go slow for maybe people that are still not sure what to do. I'm going to picture this. Literally picture what's going on, because some of you are doing the wrong thing on this problem. Picture what's going on. I'm at a school. I got a whole bunch of kids going with me to this field trip. How many are going? 331 are going, right? We're all at the loading zone. We got a bunch of buses pulling up. Well, we don't have a bunch of buses pulling up. We have how many buses pulling up? 6. We know how many buses are pulling up. A bunch of kids are going to get on those buses, but then a bunch of kids are going, well, not a bunch. Some kids, 7, are going to get in their cars and go. They're gone, right? So out of this 331, some of you are trying to figure out a way to do this. And there is a way to do it. You are trying to somehow say, well, I know that out of the 331, 7 are going in cars. There's a way to create that equation, and I would have given you probably credit for it. But that's not really, that's not going to follow the model. I want to follow the model that we've been doing. Following the model, this number is made up of 2 pieces. What are the 2 pieces that make up this grand total number of students that are going on the field trip?
6.
Well, not in numbers. We're going to do it in words. The total number of students is made up of the students going one way versus and plus the students going another way.
The ones in the car?
So students going in a car.
Yeah.
So we have students going in cars. Plus, because we're going to add those 2, all the students going in the buses, right? We don't subtract. Some of you are subtracting. There's a way to use subtraction, but it wouldn't be with the way you had it set up. So students going in cars plus students going in buses. And in words, again, that just equals the total students going. So that's the equation in words. Just picture it. I got a whole bunch of students going. Some are going in cars, plus the ones going in buses, equals the total going. Try to picture it. At least that'll get you some partial credit normally if you write the wrong things down equation-wise. So in words, again, that's an equal sign right there. So now we should be able to figure out, this is a pretty easy one to figure out, by the way, as our, there we go. So now, let's fill in the information. What do we already know? What do they just give us in this? What? Call on most people. Go, Cortez. What did they give us in this?
That 331 students were on a field trip.
Which one of those three is that?
Huh?
So 331 is going to replace one of these. Which one is it? Is it the students going in cars? 331.
Yes.
331 are going in cars?
Shut up. No.
No. 331 are not going in cars. We know that. That didn't make sense. Is it the number that are just going in buses, the 331?
Yes.
No,
No.
no.
No. No.
Is it the total that are going?
Yes.
That's what it is. Correct.
I'm done. I'm done.
All right. So the next piece, Lazaria, you give me the next piece. We still need to plug in the number of students going in cars or the number of students going in buses. One of those is really easy to plug in. You tell me which one. Or you can tell me either of them. If you want to do the harder one, that's fine too. So how would we get the students going in buses? Did they tell us that? Well, no, you could. That actually is correct. And we're going to come back to that. So did everybody hear? She's very quiet. Everybody hear what Lazaria said?
No.
She goes, well, you could just add in the students going on buses. And I said, well, how do you know that? How would you calculate that? And she said, well, you could just subtract out the 7 from the 331, which you could. That would give you a number of students going on buses. It wouldn't necessarily set up the equation. So we're trying to set up the equation. You're just kind of solving it if you do that, which is fine. If you want to solve it and come back and do the equation later, I'm fine with that. But we need to focus on setting up an equation, not solving it. Wonderful.
6x.
Well, let's fill in the other one that we know. What's the other one that we already know that's easy?
7.
Yeah, we already know how many students are going in the cars. It just told us that. It just said 7 students. So fill in the easy stuff first. So we know 7 students are going in cars, plus however many are going in buses equals the total going. So here's where I get to that point every time, whenever we do a problem like this, I say there's going to be one piece that is what? One piece of the equation. Normally I say when you're dealing with money, but it works out in this case even though we're not dealing with money. Cortez, what are you doing? Normally it's in problems dealing with money, but it works in this one too. How do we figure out, or how do we set an equation up, not just figure out the number, but what's the equation or the formula behind students going in buses? What do we need to do? 6 is part of it, so which part is the 6? What does 6 represent? Well, that's not how many students going on a bus.
It represents what the buses.
The number of buses. It represents how many buses. Remember, there's always a how many and then a how much in one, or how much per one. Because remember, we said how many tickets, how much per ticket. How many songs, how much per song. There's always a how many and a how much. We know how many buses, right? That's 6. We need to know how much per one bus. What's that? Alondra, what is that part? You've been dying to answer.
How many for what?
We know the how many buses. We just need to know how much per one bus. How many students in one bus?
I don't know.
What part is that?
It's that X.
That is X, exactly. X stands for how many in one bus? How many people in one bus? We said that up here at the beginning. Well, actually, we didn't say that. I totally forgot to write that. So again, X, I should have written that in. How many per bus? That would have been what your X was in the beginning. I totally forgot to do that. So that's your equation. Some of you had, like I said, you were trying to figure out a way to subtract. You don't subtract. If you're subtracting, you're already solving the problem.
So not every time you subtract?
Well, very rarely, really, will you subtract on my quiz.
Alright, bet.
Because remember, the total number of students is made up of the students going in cars plus the students going in buses. If you solve that out, by the way, you subtract 7, 324 equals 6x divided by 6 divided by 6. So that's how many students right there. 54 students on each bus. All right, so quiz on Wednesday. You have all the problem types in front of you. So all you gotta do is look over them. I'm gonna post this recording. You can watch it again if you need to. Should not be a hard quiz. It'll be a shorter quiz. It'll only be probably 45 minutes, and you'll have to do it. Probably 5 or 6 questions.
So what you put my name for?
Because I need to make a phone call home. Well, you guys do well on taking that. You got butts off at it.
Yes, sir.
Knock it off. No, seriously, both of you. Knock it off.
Wait, hold on, what did I do?
You just gotta be seen. You gotta stand up in the room.
I told you I couldn't see.
I
I
know that, yeah. I will laugh.
If you're listening,
Mr. Gill, put it
I
back
wish
on.
it was just you and me somewhere so I could talk about it. Can we talk right now?
Mr. Gill, I swear
That
to
is
God.
such BS, you know.
I swear to God, you put it on.
But you don't need to do what you do. You can come up here, you can sit quietly. For that, I love, really, people are standing next to each other all the time. I don't mind if you do that and you're doing it for a purpose. You just get up and you just hang out and bother. No, you can't sit where you're not supposed to be sitting. So seriously, both of you, knock it off. There's time for that at the end of class. During class is not that time. All right?
No, make it loud. Make it loud. Not like that, like. Yeah, like that.
Why don't you try and
No, you got it. You gotta cup your hand.
If anybody wants to, real quick, sorry, real quick, if anybody wants to, the quiz is gonna be on Wednesday. I'll be here Tuesday from 1:30 to 2:40. If you really are worried, you can come by and we can work on a couple of problems or something that will help you. Again, I don't expect a ton of people to take me up on that, but if you're interested,
No,
I
I know
will
it's
do
not
it.
first time, dude. No, it's. Like that. Yeah.
Okay, well, how many classes? Tell me.
Just tell me.
Alright, you stupid.
That ain't stupid.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, great, stupid.
How you say, look.
How you say out the gutter?
What?
Out the mud. I said. How you say out the mud?
It's like there's no word for that, right? It's
Okay, what is mud?
There's no word for this.
What am I getting?
Go before it takes you.
Wow.
Thank
you.
Be safe, be safe. Take a game of rock, rock, rock.
Again, you guys online, Quiz, same thing for you. The quiz will be on Wednesday, second half of class. I think this is one you can just do normally. I probably will ask some verbal questions, but for the most part, you'll just be taking the quiz. Because I don't think you can really cheat on a word problem quiz. I guess we'll find out. All right? If you have questions, let me know. Download that document. All right, Zanaya, let's talk about that later. You're going to get more questions, so don't worry about it if you're just worried about your quiz. But please do the work yourself, because it was very clear you were not, if you're still there.